popped up, just go ahead and hit the word continue. So just a few housekeeping items that we review every time we have a webinar. That is, everyone on the webinar has been muted. That helps us to avoid the background noise. At the end of the webinar, there will be a short anonymous survey, so we do appreciate your feedback. And if you have any questions throughout the webinar, go ahead and use the chat button there. And again, we'll send out the recording in just a few days. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide. Our topic today is Social Wellbeing 101. We are lucky to have Jennifer Papaduke here with us today. And the next slide. Please do keep in mind that this information provided in this presentation is intended solely for the general information of the audience. It's not medical advice and shall not replace consultation with your physician or other qualified health provider. If you have any health-related questions or problems, please seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider. And with that, let's welcome Jennifer.
All right, thank you all so much for having me here today. Before I officially introduce myself and our program, I also am just going to read a disclaimer to you all. While I know you're not on audio or video, this is just something we read at the start of all of our webinars. So by continuing to participate in today's webinar, you hereby consent to being recorded during the webinar hosted by Sharecare. You understand that your audio and video may be captured, recorded, transcribed, or edited and used for the purpose of being broadcast, published, and distributed for training, educational, and other purposes determined by Sharecare in its sole discretion. So thank you again. My name is Jen Papaduke, and I will be leading our time together today. I am a senior health promotion specialist at Sharecare, and I'm also a registered dietitian. Just to give you a little background on me, I've spent a majority of my career in the corporate wellness space, as well as building health programs abroad. I am super excited to share this presentation with you today. The title of our webinar, of course, being Social Wellbeing 101, Having Supportive Relationships and Love in Your Life. This is an introductory webinar, really all about the power of social support to learn about this important construct of wellness. And before we really jump in, I did want to let everyone know that at Sharecare, we've really elevated our webinar experience. So today you're going to be viewing a video presentation with expert content, interactive activities, and of course, we really encourage group discussion. So you'll notice periods of playing and pausing the presentation as we watch various snippets, and then come back together to engage in conversation. I really welcome any and all comments, questions, experiences that you all feel comfortable sharing throughout the presentation. Please type them in the chat feature. I'll read as many comments as I can so that you can learn from your colleagues' experiences, and feel free to interact with each other in that chat feature.
And Jennifer, I just want to say one other thing about the chat, and that is the chats go directly to the host and the panelists. They do not go to everyone just for privacy reasons. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for including that. And I am going to start our video presentation. Everyone can see my screen, correct?
Yep.
All right. So right off the bat here, I am just going to pause on our agenda screen so you know what to expect from today's workshop. To start, we're going to just begin by exploring what social well-being actually means. From there, we're going to dive into the importance of social contacts, specifically focusing on how social contacts can increase your longevity. Then we'll discuss why it's important to have a quality social circle, and we'll wrap up with the concept of social mentorship. So we are going to get started with our first video segment on what social well-being means and the importance of social contacts. A person's social health has to do with feeling loved and supported daily. So in this segment, we're going to hear from Patricia Garrity, who is a nurse practitioner that speaks and publishes nationally on topics pertinent to women's health.
The whole world is a beehive. The social contacts are a huge part of healthy living and healthy longevity. And the blue zones identified that very easily, is that all of the blue zones, the communities in the world where people do have long life, one of the critical factors was a social group. That's something with my patients I'm assessing with every single patient right now. What is your social group? Who's your beehive?
Let's talk about our hearts.
Sorry, that segment ends a bit quickly, but as mentioned, we heard from nurse practitioner Patricia Garrity. She brought up the concept of blue zones. Some of you may have heard about these areas, but for those of you who haven't, blue zones are regions throughout the world where people live the longest and overall are the healthiest people on the planet. There have been a lot of studies into why that is, and what are some of the factors that go into these long, healthy lives. And one of the factors Patricia brings up here is that it's been found that these people in blue zone regions had a social group. So she uses this metaphor of a beehive, which is really a great one. It's a metaphor for a community of people in your social circle. So you may know that honeybees within a hive actually think collectively, and their immune system is also collective. So the health of the individual is based on the health of the collective. And it's really neat to think about your social group as your beehive and how you directly impact those who are closest to you. So just some questions. Does anyone here want to share a person in their beehive and maybe how it makes you feel to identify this person? So I'd love to hear from you in the chat feature. And I can share first, as hopefully some of y'all are typing away. My brother and two of my girlfriends who I interact with the most are my beehive and my main support. Anytime I feel something challenging, I always know I can go to them to support me. And they also know that that feeling is mutual. It feels safe and comforting to know I have them during times of need. I see someone also said their sisters, so oftentimes we can rely on family to be part of our beehive. Someone else said their parents and their husband. Absolutely. These are the people who probably know us best and we interact with the most and we feel the most safe, support, and supported by. Someone else, my family, always a great support system. I belong to 2 women's groups in recovery and have a wonderful therapist. That's amazing. So also thinking outside of our families. While family is great, some of us may not always have the best relationships with them. So thinking about how we can also venture outside that to build our beehive. Someone said, my mom. Recently leaving a relationship that closed off external connections has given me the opportunity to rebuild my hive from scratch. I get to really think about what each person I'm choosing to spend time with adds to my life. Yeah, it's definitely difficult when we have relationships that may not be beneficial, but when you're able to close the door on one like that, it really opens the door for other opportunities and really that opportunity to choose who is in your beehive or your social circle. So that's really amazing. And the fact that you recognized that for yourself is really, really beautiful too. Oh, sorry, as I'm clicking through the comments, my video goes away, but that's okay. We'll pull it up. Someone said close coworkers. My recovery group of women, my girlfriends, our friendships span over 20 years. We are all teachers and support each other in our personal and professional lives. My husband and partner of 27 years. My best friend I've known since I was 10. My neighbors, Odine's nurturing role model. I have the same group of friends from church for over 20 years now. We've been through a lot: marriages, babies, family deaths, moving out of state. I have a best friend of over 30 years. So this is great. And hopefully when you guys are thinking about your beehive, it's maybe giving you a really positive feeling in your heart to even just mention and share those with others. I can see from your descriptions of these individuals that they do mean a lot to you. And if you don't feel like you have a strong beehive now, maybe just seeing some of your colleagues talk about their beehives, it gives you an opportunity. Joining a women's or a men's group or a social circle of activities that you like, maybe through your spirituality in the church, a synagogue, or however you practice that. Maybe through an exercise group, you can find your beehive. So whether your beehive has been strong for 20, 30 years, or maybe you're just starting to build a new beehive, just thinking about how important that is for our well-being. So we're going to move on from this, but I hope you all enjoy just kind of reflecting on those beehives and also thinking about how you influence each other's behaviors. So hopefully they are positive influences in your life. In the next section, we are going to talk about broken hearts. So we're going to hear from 4 health experts. We're going to hear from Jen Caudle, who you see on the screen now. She is a board-certified family medicine physician and associate professor in the Department of Family Medicine at Rowan University. She appeared as an on-air health expert in numerous TV and radio programs, and her health articles have been widely published. Jen will be talking with Dr. Robin Miller, ShareCare Editorial Advisory Board member, who currently practices internal medicine and serves as the medical director at an integrative medicine facility. And then we'll hear from Tamika Simpson, who is a registered psychological assistant. I do see a question. Do the beehive members need to be connected to each other in addition to you? Absolutely not. You can have multiple beehives. You can have your family kind of being a supportive beehives. You can have different groups of friends. Maybe you have groups of friends for your spiritual well-being through your church or yoga or a synagogue. Maybe you have others who impact your physical well-being through a yoga class or a walking group. So they don't all have to be connected, but you may feel times in your life where it's nice to bring them together as well. So let's hear about broken hearts next, and then we'll come back together.
Specifically broken heart syndrome. I always find this is a topic that people are fascinated with because, you know, the title of the article is always, can you really die of a broken heart, right? And people want to know.
It is when someone is overwhelmed, usually by something not good. It's this huge outpouring of adrenaline, and it's a stun gun to the heart. And it looks like a heart attack. It looks and acts like a heart attack. But the enzyme levels don't go up very much. If you do angios on these people, they're relatively normal. And it just takes time for the heart to get back to normal.
Sometimes there's this just severe depression and almost like you stop, you don't have the will to live. You don't have the will to go on. There's nothing driving you, that the pain is so intense that your body just sort of shuts down. I have seen a few people where this has happened, and it's been spouses in my personal experience. Spouses who have been together for a very long time, one of them passed and the other one just, really didn't have a lot of purpose. And so finding that purpose sometimes can be really helpful. Just finding a new purpose, finding something else, another desire. And, this is where I highly recommend the village come in. Where's the family? Where are the friends? Come together, do dinner, do something that's going to just, create that community and that connection. And it's difficult when that person doesn't have that village and that support around them. And so then that might mean going outside, going out to community resources, finding something, trying to give them some sort of connection so that they have that new will. And life changes, but it can continue to go on. And then of course we have all of our mindfulness activities. And I think this could go for both the good and the bad. Just, calming that nervous system, doing some deep breathing activities, meditation, things to just help your body relax a little bit and lower those adrenaline levels.
Okay, I'm going to pause here again. And this topic of broken heart syndrome is something very relevant and personal to a lot of us. Whether you've gone through a divorce, experienced the loss of a partner or close friend, or maybe just had a falling out with someone in your beehive. Part of healing broken heart syndrome is to rely on your social contacts and support to recover and discover other connections in your life. And someone had mentioned something very similar earlier in our comments. So in that video, Jen introduced the phrase broken heart syndrome, which is a temporary heart condition most commonly brought on by stressful situations. It may even feel like you are dying. Dr. Robin explained it looks and acts like a heart attack, but it just takes time for your heart to get back to normal. You may even feel like you're losing the will to live or go on and feel like your body has totally shut down. But when this happens, Tamika explains how finding a purpose or a new purpose can really be beneficial, and utilizing your support and community and connections is vital during this time. And as we mentioned, if you don't currently have that in place, it's something to think about building, because we all know that that there's going to be times of stress and times where we need to lean on others. I see a comment, I lost my best friend of over 20 years last year, and it hits me hard at odd times. I miss her so much, but I'm learning this year to find other ways to connect with others. Absolutely, that is broken heart syndrome, truly. And, you're not going to get over that loss in a day, a month, even a year. It's going to find its way back to you sometimes, but building strong relationships with others, finding new hobbies, maybe even volunteering, like they said, finding a purpose, that can really help motivate us to continue on and to maybe rediscover or learn things about ourselves that we didn't know in the past. So I am going to bring some questions on the screen and again, ask for some feedback here. All right, so first question, and you guys can feel free to answer any of these, 1, 2, all 3, and in any order, but how have social connections impacted your physical and mental health? So as we mentioned earlier, those in our beehive can actually impact our health and our health behaviors. So have you recognized that with any of your social connections? Someone said they keep me positive and engaged and can pick me up in times of stress. Absolutely. There's a lot of ways that our social connections impact our physical and mental well-being. Someone said mental health keeps me feeling loved and accepted. That's beautiful. Thinking about your physical health too, do you have friends that just like to go out to eat all of the time? Well, that can be great for our social well-being. Maybe that impacts our physical well-being in a negative way if we're constantly eating unhealthy foods. Or maybe you have a great physical connection or a connection with your social contacts where you like to exercise and go out and try new things. And maybe that helps you build strength in that physical body. Someone said, my social connections recharge me, keeping the lines of communication open when I live in a different state than my family and friends. I have friends that we make it a point to connect monthly. This builds a strong relationship. My friends keep me grounded and a great source of stress relief, spending time together, laughing, etc. Keeping relationships strong by continuing to communicate with my social connections so they know I care and are important. Yeah, I see some of you answering the additional questions. So just so I read them out loud, how do you keep your relationship strong and where can you build new connections? Someone said their social connections remind them they're not alone. Reciprocal relationships work to keep them strong. And they build new social connections by going places and meeting new people. But I struggle with this. I think a lot of us struggle with building new social connections, especially in adulthood. It can be more isolating than when we were potentially in school or just in these younger years where, friendships just might be easier to maintain due to time. But I think that's a really important thing to touch on here. Where can you build new social connections, or where have you built new social connections? Maybe we can drop some ideas in the chat here. Someone said, social clubs have helped me make new friends. My tap dance class, that's a unique hobby, and I absolutely love that. I know for me, I've built new social connections through book clubs as well as yoga classes. I've also started playing pickleball recently, so that's another way to connect with people and meet people. My husband is often away for work. Right now, he's been gone for 6 months. It's hard on us, but we keep our relationship strong by FaceTiming most days. Yeah, recognizing that each relationship is going to be unique and doing what we can on our part to maintain them. And when we need something, whether it be from a partner or a friend, make sure we're asking for that too. So if you're the one constantly reaching out and you find a friend isn't, asking them to invite you out or be reciprocal or meet up with their groups of friends could be a good way to build new connections. Someone else said, my neighbors, we walk our dogs together. That's great too, building those social connections with those who live close to us in case you ever need that immediate support. Make it a point to meet monthly with friends or anytime they want if any of us are going through a tough time to lend support. I don't usually have new social connections, but I'm open to ideas. Yeah, so as far as other ideas go, thinking about maybe a hobby you've always wanted to try. Someone mentioned tap dancing, and you're never too old to start a new hobby and learn something new. Maybe you want to take a class, whether it be educational or fun. Maybe you want to learn how to paint or how to play guitar. So there's all different opportunities to do that. Someone said the dog park. If you have a dog, I know some people take cats out now too, but taking your animals out and finding others who also love pets is a great way to find connection with people. So for this one, looking internally and seeing, what new you maybe want to bring to your life, or maybe you could start volunteering. Is there a food pantry near you that needs help? Something like that, but just thinking about, different things that warm your heart and make you feel good. And then hopefully you can build your connection with like-minded people. All right, I really appreciate you all sharing your thoughts and feedback on this topic. So we're going to move on and learn how some connections can actually be harmful and learn how to know whether to work on a friendship or potentially let it go. So this section of the video is not going to be narrated. You can just read along with it. And we'll come together to discuss the 5 ways to either repair a friendship or end it if it's toxic. Okay, so I think this part of the video is something we all need to think about, and it's interesting because oftentimes we don't. But we learned that when coming from a place of gratitude and positivity, this can allow conversations to be a lot more meaningful. And here were the tips given to repair a friendship or let it go if it's starting to feel too toxic. The first one was to write down all the good things about the friendship. So really thinking about the positives and seeing hopefully if those positives outweigh the negatives of the friendship and if it's worth saving or working on. Number two was to communicate in a different way. If what you're doing isn't working, like maybe texting or talking, think about writing someone a letter, knowing that we all communicate differently, and especially in this world of technology, oftentimes we are communicating through text, and knowing that that can be perceived differently than we intend or than someone else intends to. So just if you're trying to work on a relationship, thinking about a new or unique way of communicating with them, making sure that things aren't getting lost in translation and having those transparent conversations about what's working, what's not, what your intentions were, and things like that. The third tip was give it some space, give the relationship some space and take a breather. Everyone processes differently, and one of you may need more time. You also can't force someone to be in a different place than they are. And there's only so much you have control over. Really, you are only able to control your own reactions rather than people's behaviors or how they think or feel. I know specifically for me, I'm someone who normally takes a day or two to process a difficult conversation, and then I'm able to come back to it really thinking about both sides of the conversation. But if you try to engage me when I am upset or overly emotional, I may say things I regret or just not speak as clearly. So, if there is a disagreement or something going on, potentially allowing that space and time for yourself as well as the other person involved. The fourth step was don't look in the past and get stuck on how a relationship used to be. Some people come into your life for different reasons and different seasons. High quality bonds require that they are long lasting, positive, and cooperate. And you really need all three qualities to be high quality. So, you might have a best friend of 20 years, but that relationship might look very different today than it did 20 years ago. And while you may have love for that person, you guys may have grown apart rather than together. And just knowing that that's okay, accepting that and moving on if that doesn't feel good to you anymore, or reducing communication if it no longer feels good. And the last tip was to pay attention to red flags. So don't let the amount of time you've known someone be the reason you remain friends. Be honest with yourself about the health and quality of the relationship and let go if it's no longer a healthy and positive relationship that's reciprocal and adds value to your life. So while there aren't any questions on this screen, I did just want to pause here and see if anyone had any thoughts about these tips or any questions, any experiences that you wanted to share here with everyone else. Has anyone used these tips before, like communicating differently or giving space? And has it had maybe a positive or a negative impact? Someone said, this is so true. I've had to let people go. Yeah, sometimes you do just need to maybe let time interfere with the relationship and recognize that it isn't healthy for you, and that's okay. Someone said reciprocal. It's so important. It takes work to maintain a relationship. Yeah, if you feel like you're the one always giving or always reaching out, it can make you feel drained, or maybe you start to just not enjoy the relationship if you don't feel like you're getting something out of it. So making sure that you're reciprocating, but also that your friends are reciprocating. Oops. I'm going through this now and I'm having a hard time. Absolutely. So, trying different tactics and seeing what works. And if it doesn't, you may just, need to let it go. And that's not an easy thing to do. But relying hopefully on other relationships that you have so that you can have a sounding board about what's going on and maybe how to best approach the situation that you're in specifically. Someone said, I agree that it can be hard not to hold on to closeness you had in youth and acclimate to the new relationship. Yes, when we have these relationships when we're younger, they may be driven by something different. And then when you get older and your lives change, maybe you have a partner or you have kids or you have different interests. You may still want that old relationship, but if you've grown up, into different ways of life, it can either just be hard to maintain that relationship due to time, or maybe you just don't have those same connections you once did. Someone else said, oh, sorry, it's hard to scroll through these comments. Someone said, I got out of a friend group because there was always drama. That was draining. Absolutely. So recognizing when it's just not right for you anymore. There can be very dramatic people or dramatic groups. And if they're constantly bringing you down, just recognizing that it's time to let go. What would be some recommendations to let go of toxic friends? I think having a conversation, obviously not telling anyone they are toxic. It really depends on what the cause is. Is it just someone who is draining you, always asking you for things? Or is it, that they are dramatic and bringing a lot of stress into your life? So I think you have to evaluate why, and if you can have a conversation about the drama or about them not reciprocating. And if they're not willing to meet you halfway on solving the problem, then just maybe not answering that phone call or not being as available. I think it really is dependent on the situation. Sometimes you might know a relationship is over, but they keep saying, we've been together for 2 years. Then you give them another chance, and before long, there's yet another horrible encounter. Yeah, oftentimes we, think about maybe the investment we put into a relationship with time, but if that's no longer serving you, imagine how much more time could be wasted. Someone said, I find step 3 and 4 the most helpful in old or new relationships. The older I get, the less I can tolerate marginal friends. I've learned they are not really friends. Someone said, yes, in Asian culture, we emphasize strong bonds with family members. It took me a while to realize some family members may not be the best influence, negativity, etc. So I limited my time with those family members, my life and peacefulness improved. Yeah, and you don't have to fully cut someone out. Maybe you just limit your availability to them. You don't always answer the phone calls or the messages. And if they're family, maybe you still have to see them on holidays or certain events, but can you reduce the negative influence in your life? Someone says, used all the tips, but the friend I let go is confused and does not understand how her behavior was hurtful. I struggle with this. I've talked to her about my concerns for months, but she does not see and understand them. So she does not know how to fix them. I want to let the friendship go while she wants to work on it, which makes it really hard. Yeah, I mean, it is going to be difficult, but you just limiting your availability to her. And, if you do have the time to reach out and try to have the conversation again, but ultimately doing what's best for you. A reason, a season, or a lifetime. Not everyone deserves your friendship. Yeah, it's true. We only have so much time in a day. So we have to decide who we want to give that time to. I may not read everyone's comments. We do have a lot coming through, which I am super appreciative of. But if I don't read your comment, it's not that it's not important. It's just that we are coming close to our time. You don't, okay. Yes, you tolerate much less as you get older. Life is short. I want to enjoy the little things and my life in peace. If you keep staying in a bad situation, it can feel almost abusive after so many negative comments or being talked down to. And it can be a slow creep, even if you aren't someone who would be in an abusive relationship. Absolutely. And we can define abusive relationship in so many ways. I mean, it could be romantic, it could be a friendship, just a friend who constantly like tears you down or says negative things about the way you look, about your career, about your home. And, when those things start impacting you negatively, and maybe you didn't notice it at first, but it's evolved over time, just stop allowing your time to those people. Thank you all for the comments. It's a difficult thing for sure, but if it improves our lives, I think that's what matters most, is that we're taking care of ourselves, because we can't take care of others if we're not our best self. Okay, we are going to be coming into the last segment of our webinar today, and we're going to learn from Dr. Juliana Hauser, a marriage and family therapist. She's going to speak about social mentorship and how to live and learn through relationships.
Find an aging mentor. It doesn't matter how old you are, you should find someone that is further down the line than you. And no matter how old you are, you need to find someone who is behind you in the aging process. This advice was given to me at a young age from someone, an older woman who really was very dear to me, and it landed. And I was 12 when she gave it to me. She said, "Juliana, you need to have friends of all ages, and you need to have people who teach you how to age." And I listened to that. It landed, and it has been an endeavor that I've had my whole life. I've given it to other people. She also said, when you get to be my age, you need to be a mentor for other people too. And when you have this mentorship relationship, what's beneficial about it is that you get real. She gave me a list of things that worked for her and didn't work for her, that were a benefit to her, that she was glad she'd experienced, things that she wished she hadn't done. And with everything that she gave me, it was always in the context of this was for her. But it wasn't telling me how things should be. It wasn't telling me that her way was the right way and the only way. It was, this is how I went about things. And that allowed me, one, to have ideas, to have modeling of someone who I thought did things in a very healthy and positive ways. And it allowed me to still have room to decide these things on my own. Relationships have an enormous impact on how we view ourselves, how we view our importance and our place in life, our purpose. I think it has an enormous impact on what we see in modeling of how relationships should be, how people who are happy and fulfilled and content behave in relationships, all sorts of relationships in their life. And we learn a lot. There's a lot that you can learn by doing self-reflections and doing the work to find out who you are. But we learn different things by being in relationship with others. We find the places that rub up against others. We can find patterns of how we're showing up with other people. And we can learn that so much of our reason of being here and connecting with others is to be in relationship with others, to learn, to grow ourselves, and to help others learn and grow.
Right. So I really love this segment of the webinar. Relationships are or have an important role in how we view ourselves and our purpose. It doesn't matter how old or young you are, but having friendships or mentors that are older and more experienced and seasoned in life is extremely beneficial to teach you how to age. It's equally important to have someone that's behind you in the aging process and to be a mentor for them. Dr. Hauser explained how she had a mentor that told her what things she did, why, and how it worked for her. and made sure to explain that this is what worked best for her. It gave Dr. Hauser ideas, but also room to be herself and live her true, authentic journey while having the wisdom and guidance from someone she respected and deemed a healthy role model. You can learn a lot by doing self-inventory, self-reflecting, introspection, but we also need experiences and relationships with others to really know how we show up in the world. From relationships and interactions to others, we can identify patterns in relationships and why we do what we do and what our purpose and place in the world is in relation to others, to learn to grow and connect and help others learn and grow. So you will see some questions here on this slide because we're approaching time. I'm not going to necessarily ask for responses about all of them today, but this would be a great time to maybe capture a screenshot so you can reflect on these later, thinking about, if you have a mentor, how that relationship has helped to build you. And potentially if you're at a point in your life where you could bring on a mentee and help someone navigate their own life in a more strategic and healthy way. I am going to move on to our takeaways, but did just want to see if there are any questions on mentorship before we wrap up today. I'm not seeing any questions come through on mentorship, but feel free to drop them in the chat and I'll make sure we get to them. I did just want to wrap up today with some key takeaways. First off, social connections improve your health. Social contact is essential for healthy living, and we really need to figure out how it's best for us to cultivate and foster our own beehive. Next, acknowledge how positive or negative interactions affect your health, both mentally and physically. Number 4, let the negative connections go. When something is no longer serving you, allow that negativity to leave your life. You never know what positivity could come through when you have more time and space for it. And then find a mentor to improve your social well-being and a mentee, and become a mentee to those, become a mentor to those younger and less experienced than you, to help learn and grow. I did see someone said suggestions for teens battling loneliness. That would be great to find them a mentor. See, again, maybe through activities that they like to engage in, or if there's someone else a few years older than them that you can connect them with. I never thought of a social mentor. How does one start this process? Where do we start? It doesn't necessarily have to be a social mentor. A mentor can be in any aspect of your life because it's going to build your social circle. It can be a work mentor, but I mean, they can teach you about the way you communicate with other people. It could be a spiritual mentor, again, someone through whatever spiritual beliefs you have. It could be a family member. It doesn't necessarily need to be anything official or on the books. I think that's oftentimes how we think of a mentor, but just reaching out to someone who you respect, someone who you think communicates well or has a strong belief system that you align with, and asking them to meet with you, have coffee, to pick their brains a little bit. All right. We are at time, and I know Laura has some additional slides she wants to share. So as I'm wrapping up, I just want to thank everyone for joining today's webinar experience. If you guys want to drop any more questions, comments, feedback in the chat, I'd be happy to read it after Laura goes over her slides. But I really thank you all for giving yourselves and me this time today. I really hope you enjoyed this presentation and have some good takeaways.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. That was fabulous presentation. I just have a couple more slides that we always show at the end of our webinar. If you do need to leave, do not worry. A recording, you'll get a link to the recording in just a few days. So this last slides are on our wellness programs for our HealthNet members. Our members can, of course, log on to their HealthNet account to see all of these wellness resources. Next slide, please. The health risk assessment, they takes about 20 minutes to complete. That's going to give you a snapshot of your health status in different key areas such as nutrition, exercise, emotional health, even financial well-being, and of course your social health as well. So feel free to take that as a HealthNet member. And coaching. So, sometimes it's hard to make lifestyle changes on your own. So if you would like to have a coach, that would be great, gives you some support and keeps you on track and motivated with some lifestyle changes. And Craving to Quit, this is our tobacco cessation program. Though we do know that smoking rates have decreased in California, we do offer Craving to Quit as well as Kick It California. And then Eat Right Now. Now, this is our healthy eating program. This focuses really on mindful eating, not so much dieting. So it's about healthy eating habits, such as identifying triggers, cravings, and healthy habits, and also emotional eating is covered as well. And we know life is stressful. We talked about that today. So Unwinding by Sharecare, this really helps to guide you through some building resilience and decreasing stress. And please note that this is actually open to everybody. You don't need to be a HealthNet member to enjoy this program. Healthy discounts. So for our members, we offer weight management programs, discounts for that, as well as chiropractic and acupuncture services. If you'd like to have a hearing aid or hearing screenings, that is covered as a discount as well. And so is our Active and Fit program that gives you discounts to all of the clubs in our in the network, which is more than 14,000 clubs, as well as on-demand video programming. Oh, and then the health challenges. So every month we offer health challenges that are open to everyone, depending on if you're a HealthNet member or not. You just log on using a different URL. So lots of different monthly challenges. Most are 30 days. However, some are 7 days, some are 90 days. They're going to focus in on topics of stress, steps, sleep, and nutrition. Exclusively starting July, we have a destination challenge for our HealthNet members. So that one is exploring the US on Route 66. And that is a 90-day challenge. It's to try and earn $7,000 steps a day. Okay, so challenge yourself and you'll cruise along popular destinations along Route 66. It is already open, although it takes place in July. It is already open for registration. And last but not least, next month we are covering wellness tips while traveling. So we do know that traveling can be exciting, but it also can present some unique health challenges. So we're going to cover things like jet lag, staying fit on the go, getting the restful sleep when you're in the hotel, and accessing healthcare if you are traveling abroad. So we'll also talk about travel immunizations and also how to manage your medications while you are traveling so that you can stay healthy and comfortable. So again, we thank you for your time today, and we hope that you will join us next month. Feel free at this time, if you didn't have any other questions, to exit the webinar at this time.